Men are not toxic. Men are the answer. Welcome to the ReMasculation podcast. Men are not toxic. Men are the answer. Welcome to the ReMasculation podcast. The show is dedicated to the exploration, celebration, and pursuit of healthy masculinity in the modern world. From emasculation to remasculation, this podcast stands in service to all of humanity by taking a stand for good men everywhere. I am your host, Michael Bates. My mission is the conscious evolution of men and masculinity across this planet in our lifetime, one man at a time. I'm a coach, men's work facilitator, psychedelic integration guide, and relationship consultant to couples of every persuasion, helping men, women, couples, and companies into the deepest embodiment of their highest potential. Welcome to my playground. I am so stoked to be joined today by a very, very amazing man, the main man himself, Michael Holt. He is the founder of the international renowned Savage and Saint Consultancy. Michael serves elite performers in the cultivation of vitality, depth of consciousness, and performance excellence. His extensive background in meditation, martial arts, Western psychology, core shamanism, health and wellness, and exercise science combined to form a unique mind-body pedagogy that is trusted by top-tier executives, founders, athletes, artists, and entertainers worldwide. He resides in Venice, California, where he devotes his time outside of his private practice and consulting endeavors to wellness study, martial arts, fitness training, writing, and meditation. Michael Holt, it is a pleasure to have you, man.
What's up, bro?
How we doing?
I feel pretty good, man. Chopping wood and carrying water today. Just put
Yeah?
the other. Yeah.
Quintessential men's work 101, baby. That's what's up. For those of you guys who are watching on the YouTube channel, you might see me repping Mr. Holt's stellar brand here. Was that for real? You're getting this tatted on your back?
I got it tatted on my back, dude.
Wow, man. That's what's up. That's what's up.
It's gonna take a few more. I did one 3-hour sit, just the outline, but it'll take another 2 or 3 probably to finish it up.
Amazing, man. I wanted to start. Go ahead.
It feels like burning the ships.
Yes.
I'm not half stepping with this thing.
Nope, you're in. I have to say, man, that's what I wanted to sort of bring up around that. You've been an inspiration to me in so many ways, but you are maybe at the very top of my list of men who are truly about what they say. You are about the walk. You do what you say you're going to do better than anyone I know. And it's something I really admire about you. And I'm not surprised at all that you are burning the ships. There is no surrender. You got to turn and face the fire.
Michael, I really want to thank you for what you just said, man. That's maybe the greatest compliment I've ever been paid.
Well, it's true, man. It's, again, you're an easy man to compliment, again, because of just the way I've constantly seen you show up from that first day I ran into you at that David Data event in California back in 2017, I think. It's like, who is this big bald-headed Viking tattooed monster walking in here with these pretty baby blue eyes and the brightest smile in the room? So, you're again, just a real inspiration, not just to me, but to a lot of men. And it's been a real honor and privilege to get to see your, I don't want to call it a brand because it feels like an ethos in a way. Just the man that you are be translated out into the world and really impact people. You're one of those dudes who has inspired me because I get pissed off knowing that you're not famous yet. Like that guys like you are the type of guys that I go to for answers. And I know that a lot of people are served by the way that you show up and the work that you do. So yeah, well, I'll start with that. And
I appreciate you. Thank you for your kind words. I don't know about that whole famous thing. No, I don't know.
I know it's not your style, which is why, it's the reluctant king, right?
I know some famous people pretty closely, and it's like a prison that follows you wherever you go.
Yeah, I hear you on that, man. And I've seen that too with a lot of the people in that world that I've experienced as well. But so much of the work that you do in meditation and the things I hear you talk about so brilliantly involve getting out of prison, involve getting out of the prison of the mind, getting out of the prison of so much of what modern society has created that I think a lot of men are struggling with and struggle to get out of. I know I did for a long time. Your origin story was very inspiring to me as well. If you're open to it, maybe you'd be willing to share a bit of how you became the man that you are today, a man that, to me, just discipline is like breathing for you. So,
well, actually, I've never felt less disciplined in all my life, man. I've never been more productive. I've never been more on point. I've never been more, I've never been more consumed with meaningful tasks and less just mindless behavior, but I've never been less disciplined. And I think that's a result of the inner work of establishing concentration, of taking a deep dive into meditation and learning how to govern your mind and govern your daily life. So I think, in the work I offer, I often talk about, yes, discipline is required at first. You have to, if you're wanting to step out of the normal way of being in our modern culture, which is, borderline sick, overweight, full-on clinically depressed, if not just kind of occasionally pretty bummed out, low energy, brain fog, it will require discipline at first. But there's a certain point on the path where the next evolution of your becoming requires that you surrender unconditionally and you surrender discipline. You just give up. You confront this notion that you're striving towards something that will never come except right now. You're working so hard on yourself so that you can one day be free. You're struggling in your work or your relationship or your own interpersonal stuff so that one day you cross that finish line and heroically, yes, I'm free. But it starts to occur to you that actually will never, ever, ever happen if it doesn't happen now.
Now.
And so then the practice becomes to surrender discipline, to surrender ambition, to surrender everything into a complete and total allowing of this right now moment. And the fear is, obviously, for dudes, especially type A, hyperproductive dudes, that if I do that, first of all, what are you even talking about, dude? What kind of shit are you even saying? Secondly, if I was to do that, if I was to allow myself, if I was to reward myself with how I think I'll feel when I complete the mission without having completed the mission, then I won't complete the mission and I won't get anything done. But my experience and in the experience of the elders who I trust, your life is infused with a creative, productive energy that you couldn't possibly muster on your own. And you become a conduit for an energy that's far more intelligent, far more creative than you are. And in that way, just to circle back, this is how I'm feeling less disciplined than ever before, but also more on point than ever before.
It's amazing to hear you share that, man. I call that the if-then booby trap. The if I do this, then when I'm this, then I'll be free. Then I'll be free. And I remember we were sitting in the car. When was that? In November in Texas, going to the tribe retreat that we were leading there. And I heard you talking about it in a different way. And that surrender piece that you mentioned. And it's like I could feel it in you. There was a levity. There was a lightness to you. For those of you guys that don't know Michael Holt, he's about 6'3", down to what are you now? 210 solid muscle? Just
196.2 this morning.
baby. Just a ferocious man in all the right ways. And that yeah, it's like there's this old idea. I can't remember. It was as a jazz musician. I think it was Thelonious Monk, maybe it was Duke Ellington, who said that, if you want to be great at something, you have to be willing to be a slave to something. You have to enslave yourself to a discipline for some time. And I feel like with you, I've seen you. Maybe the freedom that you're experiencing now has come because you were able to be disciplined for long enough that now, like a good jazz musician, you're not stuck in the scales. You can just kind of riff more freely. Does that land or make sense at all?
Yeah, I think it totally makes sense, and it drives home a critical point that while I am saying that in time you must surrender discipline, first you must cultivate a relentless, unwavering, damn near oppressive discipline.
Yes.
To the point where doing the thing or continuing to do the thing becomes easier than not doing the thing. Where you become so attached to your practice or whatever it is that the thought of not doing it is edgier than doing it. And that's when you're at the point where you're starting to, okay, maybe it's the law of diminishing returns here with continuing to be straight up disciplined, focused all the time. Maybe I have to start to relax a bit.
Yeah.
But that surrender has to come after. You have to make a sacrifice. You have to sacrifice the discipline, but it has to be a worthy sacrifice. You can't say, well, yeah, I sleep till 10:30, ate potato chips, and I think now I'm ready to just surrender.
Yeah.
You have to go pretty hardcore. You have to build that discipline first, and then you have to give it up. And you don't even want to give it up. It's like, God damn, I got to give this up too? Shit, I gave up so much already. I got to give this up too? But it's really worth doing. I'm not commenting on this from the perspective of an individual who's not still very much on his own path and in the work and confronting my own struggles, and very much a student, of teachers who I trust and believe in. So I don't want to come off like I got it all figured out. I don't. But when I look back on earlier chapters of my life and compare them to where I'm at now, I know that I'm on track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel it, man. What would you say? Because I know you work with a lot of men, and I do too. And so I know you see a lot of this, guys who are struggling to develop those early stages of discipline. I know this is maybe just a general inquiry, but how do you, maybe I'll ask it this way. How did you start to develop those initial sort of fortresses of discipline within your own psyche, within your own body? And how do you encourage the men that you work with into that space? How do you help those guys get started on enslaving themselves to something meaningful so that they can free themselves and surrender down the line?
I guess, you think of discipline like a muscle. I think the pitfall that a lot of guys make is you're riding these ups and downs of life. You're in the middle of a down, and you say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to meditate for 45 minutes every morning, 45 minutes every night. I'm going to get in the cold plunge for 10 minutes every day. I'm going to eat nothing but raw liver. I'm going to work out 6 days a week. And then, of course, you can't stick to it because you try to do too much too soon. Yeah. So it's the same way you would develop a muscle. Progressive resistance over the course of time. Set goals that you can attain and give yourself ambitions that you can actually, be realistic with what you can accomplish. Get a feeling for like that feeling of completing the task. It feels really good. So you give yourself that reward. And then in time, you have more energy. You've cultivated more discipline so you can challenge yourself in other ways. But the best way to get started is to start small and be consistent. Consistency is king. I have this course going on now, and it's going really well. And a lot of the guys that I've enrolled in the course, I had conversations with them on the phone, and a lot of them said, like, sometimes I'll do a workshop or a 3-day retreat or something, and I feel so clear and bright and focused afterward. It doesn't last long. And that's because your daily life is not conducive to the states. Your daily life is not conducive to helping you access the states of mind, the states of being that you found in a retreat setting or a workshop setting. So the trick is to make your daily life your workshop. Have a look at your daily life. It's not going to be the next seminar or the next workshop or the next thing that's going to change you. It's what do you do on a given day? Try to give your day some structure so you can have the feeling when you go to bed at night, you're a little sharper than when you woke up that morning. That's an incredible feeling. And you do that by starting small.
I love that, man. I love that. I wanted to give you a chance to talk a bit about your course, because you are many things, Michael, but you are most certainly a holistic health practitioner, and are, again, one of the people I know to be the most passionately devoted to health as wealth. And this course, I know you've got another one coming up in July, I think, that you mentioned that guys will be able to join. But you got a nice, good, solid cohort of guys.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about it and what it incorporates.
Yeah, I got about 35 guys in the class now, the first iteration of Masculine Vitality, and it's a 12-week course. We're doing it online, and it's basically what I just said. It's the progressive introduction of daily lifestyle practices at a manageable rate that you can metabolize and assimilate into your day, all in service of the up-leveling of masculine vitality. Like I said earlier, we live in a culture where the norm is a very low baseline of vital energy, barely even alive. We define health in our modern culture as not being sick, but health is so much more than just not being sick. It's feeling vibrantly and vitally alive. It's feeling like passionate about the work that you're engaged in, and you're full of the energy required to make it happen. And once you get a taste of that, you really start to value it, and you become very protective of it, and you recognize and understand that a lot of the things that are normalized in our culture are severely depleting of vital energy. So the primary foundations that we look at the course are, in order of their importance as I see them, are number one, cultivating concentration and learning how to exercise some degree of volition with what kind of thoughts elaborate behind your eyes. Like I said this in the class the other night, I think it's a Abraham Lincoln quote. If you give me an hour, I'm paraphrasing, but if you give me an hour to chop down trees, I'll spend 40 minutes sharpening my axe. So in this course, we have 12 weeks, and we're going to make a lot of lifestyle changes. That's going to require a lot of discipline, but common denominator in all the things that we're going to do is our own mind.
Yeah.
So you can get still enough where you can get a bird's eye view of your own thoughts, get a bird's eye view of your own mind, and contact intention. And then you can allow your intention to be your driving force, not your own thoughts. Because your thoughts will betray you, especially when you're trying to do hard things. Your mind will definitely try to talk you out of it. So the capacity to allow specific thought formations to arise and pass without reifying them or making them me, identifying with them, just noise that happens inside. No difference than noise that happens outside. Anyway, chapter 1 is the basic fundamental foundational skills of meditation: concentration, clarity, equanimity. And basically, the course is kind of like a meditation course. Meditation is a through line of all 12 classes. And we establish fundamental skills at week 1, and then we build upon those skills all throughout the 12 weeks. Then we want to look at functional breathing, establishing functional breathing patterns. I always say, a lot of people, if not most people, if you know what to look for and you watch somebody breathe, the average person breathes at about 30% of their capacity. And so what that shallow breath does is send just a subtle kind of signal to the intelligence of your body constantly that there's something's off, there's not quite enough. And that feeling manifests as anxious thoughts. And then you run out into the world trying to rearrange things so you feel less anxious. But the reality is you just need to learn how to breathe. So establishing fundamental functional breath, that's a baseline. But then you can build upon that, and you can 100% learn to breathe yourself into some pretty transcendent peak experiences. Like, really, you can have quite a psychedelic experience. The combination of fully functional, effortful capacity breath and a concentrated mind is a very psychedelic experience, and you can have that every day, and it's very energizing. So we can use the breath to accelerate the skills that we're building in the meditation practice. And then we just want to look at basic stuff like sleep, hydration, nutrition, movement. The thing about the course is that there's not a lot of revolutionary information, really. You may not learn anything intellectually that you didn't already know. But what you will have to do is confront, if I already know this stuff, why am I not living it? What are the beliefs that are preventing me from actually becoming vital? Why don't I, if I know what it takes to be healthy, why don't I take good care of myself?
Right. What's in the way?
Why don't I take good care of myself? That's a very, very deep inquiry, and a lot of stuff is going to come up. So like I said, there's not really a lot of super revolutionary information in the class. Maybe not. People are definitely going to learn some things, but the utility of the course is the fact that you are going to make a commitment over the course of 12 weeks to maintain the practices and the disciplines that I'm introducing every single day. And 12 weeks is a pretty significant chunk of time. You can become a new person in 3 months. And that's my expectation for the participants. I make it very clear. This is going to be challenging. It's manageable. Do it. Don't let this be another workshop experience where you learned a few things, but you didn't stick to it. Do it. Make the commitment here. Let's get this shit done. And the guys are fired up, and I'm fired up, and this is the work that I want to put out in the world.
It's beautiful work, Michael. I think I'm going to get together with an app developer just to make an app where when you're struggling with something, you can just click on the app and you pop up and just say, do it, and they just do.
Well, that's another thing too. That do it, just fucking do it. Yeah. Just reject your own excuses and just do it. That's part of it. You need to have that. You need to have that muscle and be able to flex that muscle in moments. Yeah. But that's only half the battle. It's Savage and Saint, remember.
I was going to say, I'm so glad you brought that in, because that's your motto, that's your ethos, that's something that's been incredibly inspiring and inspirational. Well, yeah, just for me. And tell us a little bit about that and what it is and what it means and how you employ that in the world.
Well, the other half, Saint, is this capacity to recognize as best you can, and if you can't really see it, then at least fake it until you make it, that you're perfect as you are, that right now nothing needs to change. Like we said earlier, what are you after? Freedom, love. When are they available? Now, only now, always now. So the Savage is this relentless kind of capacity to improve always and always, to expand, to conquer, and that's important. You need that. But the Saint is, this just gentle kind of reminder that this is it. What if it's not found now, it won't be found. And, we talked about earlier, why are you not taking care of yourself? Well, how do you feel about yourself? How do you really feel about yourself? Because the work really in vitality, in health, and well-being, in awakening, the whole path is about learning to love yourself. Mm. And as you learn to love yourself, you continue to contact yourself at deeper levels, and who you understand yourself to be shifts as your practice deepens. But with regard to health and wellness, if you can remove the obscurations that are preventing you from really loving yourself, if you can come to a place where you authentically love and respect and revere the man in the mirror, then it becomes kind of a no-brainer to care for him the way you would care for someone who is worthy of reverence. And that's not that has real world applications with regard to what do you eat for breakfast? Do you exercise?
Right.
Do you get out in nature? When you care for yourself the way you would care for somebody you love, then doing the healthy things become the things that you want to do. And so there's less friction along the path of self-governance.
I think that's a really important thing for men, well, for everyone, but for men specifically to know. I know for me, that was a big piece of my own recognition and my own journey of realizing at what deep level I really didn't like myself. And I think we all have those childhood conditioning aspects that are sort of in the way of us discovering our true self that lies underneath those notions, like, why don't I take good care of myself? What's underneath that? It's such a important exploration.
And, a lot of guys too, of course, have families and responsibilities, and there's this kind of martyr mentality of, well, I should put myself last, but you're not doing the people who depend on you in your life any favors by putting yourself last. Yeah. The greatest gift you can give a young child, for example, is for that child to be raised by a man who is healthy, happy, fully alive, and well-nourished within himself, because you can only give what you have. And if your cup's not full, you don't have anything to give. So, paradoxically, this path of taking really good care of yourself, becoming fully alive, becoming healthy and vital is a selfless path.
Yeah. Well, I love, too, the medicinal application of the path as a philosophy, as a practice. If you're too hard and rigid, the medicine is the opposite of that. If you're too soft and limp in your energy, the medicine is the opposite of that. Yeah. I remember seeing you and Justin, run that stuff, the first tribe events that we did, lining guys up eye to eye and having them give the feedback to each other of what quality do you think would serve this man across from you at a deeper level? Does he need more savage? Does he need more saint? And it's so clear to the people in your life what aspect you could use more of.
Yeah.
But then there's a way to train for that. There's a way to train those qualities that are available and make a big difference.
Sure. And, like I said, having the capacity in both of those seemingly opposite extremes are critical on the path of freedom, of self-governance, because there will be moments in your life where it is appropriate for you to give yourself a swift kick in the ass and stop fucking around and get the job done.
Yeah. And
there will be moments in your life where it's totally appropriate to chill out, man. Take it easy on yourself, to relax, So the balance is critical. It's all about balance.
It really is. Let's circle back to something you said earlier, that I'm sure you see it too, the number of guys that show up to me in my work who are struggling with depression or anxiety specifically, or those two extremes. Depression sort of fixated on the past, anxiety, fear of the future. And so many people really think there's something wrong with them. But to me, there's so much of an incidence of anxiety or depression because of the way people are living their lives. Like that, to me, it's like, well, yeah, of course you're depressed. Thank God you're depressed. You should be depressed. You don't sleep well. You don't eat well. You have a terrible relationship with the opposite sex. You have no relationship with your family. It's like, there are things that you can do, which is why I'm so glad that, I knew you've been talking about this course for a while. And I'm so stoked that it's out there. And like, guys, seriously, like, once you get a chance, hop in this July cohort, because it's going to be fire, and yours truly might be there too. So,
you better be there. No, don't give me no mic bullshit.
Wow. I trust me, I want to be there. I'm excited for it. I'm excited enough. I'm even going to try to get my brother and some other people to join. So
that'd be great to have you.
It's a real thing, man. I want to ask. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me just tag on to what you just said.
Yeah, please.
You mentioned earlier, I'm a health practitioner, a holistic health practitioner, and with regarding the prevalence of disease or people who are unwell in the modern culture. If you go to the doctor is a sick professional. I'm a health professional. Mm-hmm. I study health. I've rigorously studied health and what it takes to be healthy. And remember, we're not defining health as not being sick. Okay, there's more to health than just not being sick.
Yeah.
So I've studied health and well-being and what it takes to be healthy and be well. Doctors, I don't think doctors are evil by any means, and Western medicine saves a lot of lives. But the nature of their education is such that they study disease and they study how to mitigate symptoms of disease. But the disease is the way that you live, or the way that we're encouraged to live. And so the difference in my work between me and a doctor, for example, is that, if you go to the doctor, you might have 15 or 20 minutes with your doctor tops. So there's not a lot of time there.
Yeah.
Doctor doesn't really have a lot of expectation of their patients. I have a lot of expectation of my clients, my students, my patients. And I make it very clear to people, like, don't engage this work if you're not ready, because it's going to be confronting and I'm going to ask a lot of you, but you're going to get well. Okay. But that's what it takes, So if you want to be not sick, go see your doctor. If you want to be healthy, see a health professional. MDs are unfortunately not health professionals.
No, they're not.
I have a doctor. I have health insurance, just because I think it's responsible, in case I get hit by a bus or something. But I don't really consult with my doctor. As part of it, I am able to get a physical once per year, and I'm already paying for it, so I go and get it. My doctor is literally morbidly obese. God bless her. She has a good heart, but that's fucking insane to me.
Yeah. There's that's a crazy thing.
Yeah.
That's a crazy thing. And it's a shame that that's the case, and that these are the people that we're looking to who never have any education in health or wellness or diet or exercise or nutrition or any of the things. When I press them on, I have fun now when I go to the doctor. I kind of mess with them a little bit and ask some questions along those lines. So yeah, man. Well, in lieu of that, I mean, you're a holistic healthcare practitioner, but you're also a pretty well decorated martial artist. And something I love about that, the Savage and Saint ethos, is that there is this. We've talked about it before. The utility from men in the ability to employ or potentially employ violence as an act of love. And I know this is something that runs deep in you, in your capacity, in your philosophy. But why, I guess I'll ask it this way, why should every man train to fight? Why is it important? And how can violence actually be an act of love?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know that every man should train to fight. I can only speak for myself. I think most men should. Here's the thing, man. In my life, there was a period in my life where I was getting in trouble. I was getting drunk all the time. I was getting in fights. I was so insecure and so wounded inside. I wasn't necessarily aware of it, but I was covering that up with this tough guy kind of energy. And then I would counter other tough guys, and we'd get in a street fight for no good reason. And it's really insane behavior. But when I found the martial art path, I found a healthy outlet for all that gunk that was trapped inside my body. And the paradox of the martial art path is certainly true in my life, that the more skillful you become in the application of violence, the less likely you are to ever take it there, and the less likely it ever really even occurs to you to take it there. Because to gain any skill in hand-to-hand combat, fighting, whatever, you have to begin as a beginner. And the process of gaining skills is really the process of taking lumps and being humbled on the way up. So by the time you get to the point where you're any good, you've been humbled. You don't have anything to prove to anybody else. You've proven yourself to yourself. And so you don't walk around with this what are you looking at? Or don't you don't you know who I am? That just gets kind of exorcised out of your body. And it's paradoxically a very peaceful path. Under the right tutelage, within the right academies, in the right schools, with the right kind of vibe, it's a very peaceful path. And yeah, I mean, you could argue that, as I often do, number one, you can claim to be a peaceful man, but if you're not really capable of like knocking somebody out, choking somebody out, like really jacking somebody up, if you wouldn't even know how to do that or where to even start, then what's it worth for you to claim to be peaceful? You couldn't be anything other than peaceful. You're almost impotent. Mm-hmm. So I would say that a high display of peace is the capacity to take it there, but not take it there. Now you have a choice. Yeah. Without that choice, what is that? What are you really about? Furthermore, you know, a saintly motivator and along the martial art path would be put yourself in a position where if somebody needs help, you can help them out. You know, if there's a dangerous situation, you could be the one to resolve it. That's a responsibility that's you can claim. I think it was my teacher Dan Santos said, like, I don't fight because I hate the man across from me. I fight because I love the people behind me. And that's why you train.
It's a beautiful frame and a beautiful reframe.
So, I mean, I've been in the position many times. I live in Venice. It's kind of a chaotic little neighborhood I live in. And I've had I've literally forgotten times. It happens so often. And I'm not talking about getting in a street fight. I'm talking about seeing a situation where somebody is being taken advantage of or something bad is about to happen. And I can enter the situation and force a peaceful outcome without having to raise my voice or my hand because it's a vibe that you carry. There's a universal body language that everyone understands of a guy who knows how to handle himself. And the louder you are, the less likely, in my experience, you know how to handle yourself. Yeah. So when you have that, when that skill set, and again, I'm not trying to sound like Jason Bourne over here. You know, I've been training for a while. I have some skills, more skills than the average guy who doesn't train. Not, there's guys, I'm not untouchable. There's fighters and martial artists even that I know that could mop me up. So I'm not trying to sound like Jason Bourne. But when you cultivate skills, reflexes, through repetition, time and time and time again, you can relax and know that your body is going to do something if it has to. And so you don't have to think about it. And because you don't have to think about it, you can connect at a human level with the hostile individual across from you and get him to calm down, not from a place of an authority, but from a place of love, really. And it leaves an impression on people. But you can only do that if you have the actual competency to press go if you have to press go. Otherwise, you're going to be scared shitless in that situation. So people ask me all the time, they know I'm a martial artist. Well, let me ask you this. What would you do if, and they come up with some silly scenario of if a guy has you in a headlock or if a guy pushes you or whatever. And the answer to the question is, I have no idea what I would do. I have no idea what I would do. I know that my body would do something and I know it would probably work, but I don't think about that kind of stuff. Bruce Lee said, I don't hit, it hits for me. Yeah. It is just this reservoir of reflexes and skills and sensitivities that start to live inside of your body as a result of the drilling, the moving, and all of that stuff. So you don't have to think about it. And that's the paradox of the martial art. The better you get, the less likely you are to take it there, and the less you ever even think about it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, I was really excited to speak with you particularly about this because, again, the philosophy that I myself try to live by and feel the most drawn to and really wanted this show to be about was the capacity for men specifically to walk in both worlds, to really be able to cultivate themselves in a way that it's not just balanced. It's like it's jacked on both sides of the equation in a way. I believe we need more from men, not less. We need good men who can rise above divisive ideologies and embody the best qualities from both sides of the aisle, because they understand both sides. They've trained both sides. They've trained for strength and sensitivity, power and presence, humor and depth. They have a kindness and generosity about them, but also that killer instinct, that sort of vibe that you mentioned that they can bring to it, and that's, I don't know how else to say it. That's sexy. There's something to that to me feels incredibly valuable.
Yeah. And trustable.
Yes. And that's the metric, right? That's the metric that we talk about in Tribe, the metric we talk about as the ultimate value for a masculine being, to be able to, trust yourself and have other people trust you to the degree that, yeah, when you enter a space, the whole vibe rises. That's the type of men I try to surround myself with. That's the type of man that I try to be. And like you said, I'm certainly not perfect. I'm very much still working that path and walking that route. But feels like an important thing to aspire towards.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing about martial art too is like, it's such an accelerant for this very same skills that you're cultivating on the pillow. Like, there's no shortage of metaphors to draw between the spiritual path and the martial art path.
Yeah.
It's like, no, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's funny because I feel like, martial arts has its own natural draw, but so many of the men that I talk to and trying to get them to meditate, even trying to get myself to meditate sometimes, it's like, oh, well, what's the point of this? Why do I even want to do this? Mindfulness. Oh yeah. Okay. I want to be more mindful. There's no one I know that talks, this isn't good English, but talks better about meditation than you. There's no one that I know that I feel like in the way you describe it are able to articulate the value and the utility of what is actually behind the practice, like what you actually get from it. It's not just peace of mind. It's not just some Om Zen sensation. It is the path to opening up an entire universe of possibility, whether in your work, whether in your relationship, whether in your relationship to yourself. You open yourself up to channels of insight that are not normally available because your volume's cranked up so loud.
100%, man. I think it's very unfortunate that there's this perspective around meditation as not a worthwhile investment of time and energy, or like it's hippie, airy fairy. I think it really bothers me when I hear people try to encourage others into the practice if they don't have some kind of,
they don't have a dial.
They don't have it. You don't have to be a master before you become a teacher, but at least like take a deep dive. Meditation is such a loosely defined term. It's just like a word that means a million different things to a million different people. And unless if you're going to have a conversation with somebody, you need to agree on what it is that we're even talking about. So there's an unfortunate kind of perspective of meditation as like this checking out, peaceful, relaxing discipline. Yeah. But it becomes that. But the way I frame the practice at the outset, because I've had the good fortune of finding teachers really falling ass backwards into the laps of good teachers who are the exception to the rule in the Western meditation world, honestly, who frame the practice as an effortful endeavor that requires diligence and strong determination. And you have to cultivate skills. There's certain skills that you'll need to cultivate to bear fruitful practice. As with any skill, that requires consistency, effort, discipline. It doesn't just happen. But under the right guidance, if you engage the practice and cultivate the component skills, you can have peak experiences on the pillow, cool. But really, like you, to your earlier point, every aspect of your life will up-level because you become sharper, more clear, more grounded, more present. All of the gunk that's bubbling up beneath the surface of your awareness, that's driving all types of unskillful behavior, comes up into the light of your conscious awareness for release. It's like it's insane to me not to have a internal practice.
Yeah.
And it's also, I'm on a mission to make meditation badass again, because it's the warrior's work. It's not namaste.
Please.
Yeah, it is. This comes from traditions of men who would seclude themselves in monastery, who would undertake heroic practice. Even Kung Fu was developed by, the legend has it, by Bodhidharma, because Bodhidharma came from India to China and was trying to form a monastery to teach the Dharma, but all the monks that enrolled were like chubby and sleepy, so he said, we got to work these dudes out, and Kung Fu was born as an exercise to sharpen meditative discipline. So there's a real warrior heritage in the practice. And if you don't believe that it's hardcore, if you don't believe that it's challenging, if you don't take my word for it, try. It will require no less than everything that you have.
Yeah, I know. For me, I think a lot of guys get turned off by the types of dudes that meditate, or like, Eckhart Tolle or Thich Nhat Hanh, or the sort of more effeminate looking dudes that just meditate, or then the beefy MMA guys who just fight. Right? Again, like you are to me the epitome of what it means to truly blend those two things together, which is, I think what I don't know. I think it's what men are. I'll be careful with what I see here, but I think for me, it's what I'm trying to attain. It's what I find value in, and what I see people valuing in that sense. And I'll circle it, tie it into this. I get asked by women almost every day, "Yo, Michael, where are all your conscious men? Where are all the dudes? Where are the guys that can employ both?" That it seems like women are starting to look for a different type of guy. And I have to tell you, Mr. Holt, you're definitely probably the most eligible bachelor in the conscious community. Well, what do you think? I mean, how does that translate? Because obviously, guys are into women and want to know how to be good in that space too. We're talking about combining meditation, martial arts. How does that translate to how we relate to women? And what do you think women are looking for right now in men?
I don't know. Probably the same thing they've always been looking for. Someone soft enough to love them and strong enough to lead them. I don't know that that's...
I'll put that on a t-shirt, Mr. Holt.
I don't know that there's any... I don't know that it's any different now than it ever was.
Yeah. I love that. Soft enough to love them, and what was it? Strong enough to lead them?
Yeah.
Brilliant, man. Brilliant. There was a what was it? A text or something from Twitter that got circled. I think it was probably Justin Patrick Pierce, who put it on our tribe thread for all of us. And it was that scene where the guy and the girl are making out in the bathroom, and it's like caught on hidden camera, and the girl starts like kind of slapping him and pushing him around, and like he kind of freaks out. Yeah. And your response, I literally wrote it down, man, because your response was such a bullseye for me. Because, well, I'll just say what your response was. You said, "There's a woman who yearns to feel a power she can't destroy, and she'll destroy everything in her path until she does." And it struck me because I encountered a lot of women like that when I was younger. And I was like the guy in the bathroom. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to stand up for that. I thought, oh, I'm supposed to be nice, or am I not? What to do? It really struck me, man, because I feel like there are qualities that you embody in a way that are really useful to men and that are very attractive to women. So yeah, I mean, how do you see that, and what do you look for in a woman, and what are you sort of, what do you find yourself drawn to these days?
I find myself drawn to a woman who delights in her femininity, who is happy to be a woman, and none other than a woman. So I find that irresistibly attractive.
Right there with you on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that for a man, the way to cultivate those qualities that you're calling are attractive to the opposite sex is to not even think about what's attractive to the opposite sex, just to get your shit together. Just to forget about it. Because if you're engaged in some kind of a self-improvement because you want it to make you more attractive to women, let's say, that can be felt as an underlying motivator. It's like it's like a trick. Just forget it. Just forget about them. Just forget about them. You know, like if you want to become a great lover, forget about making love altogether. Like I've learned just through breath practice, through becoming aware of my breath, through learning how to concentrate my mind, that those qualities just kind of seep into intimate relationship without that ever needing to be the reason that you engaged in those practices. It just happens. You can learn how to bypass ejaculation and have full body orgasms without ever even knowing that that's what you were doing. Just learn how to breathe. Just learn how to count. You know, this is what we're doing in the class right now. Count from 1 to 8 and 8 to 1 internally without breaking the count. You'll become a better lover just by learning how to concentrate. Not only will you become a better lover, you'll become better at your work. You'll become better at the gym. You'll become better at everything that you do just by learning how to breathe and just by learning how to be aware of where your mind goes moment by moment. So I do a lot of podcasts, man. I enjoy them, and a lot of questions comes up a lot, like, what do men need to do, or what do women need to do? I don't know, man. I have no idea. My work is concerned at the individual level. What do you need to do to make yourself better? Pour all your energy into that, and forget about what men need to do, what women need to do, what global policies need to change. Focus the totality of your energy and your effort on yourself. Improve yourself and forget everything else. That's the way the world changes.
Couldn't agree more. In light of you sharing that, I mean, again, you know, you're as you alluded to at the beginning of the call, you're having amazing success. You're sort of releasing this discipline and leaning into surrender and having things align for you in new ways. I'm curious, what are the things that you need to do right now? What is Michael Holt's edge of practice in this moment? And or what are the things that you still struggle with, or that you find yourself, leaning into the edge of?
I think I still have a bit of work to do around the balance between striving and accepting. If I'm not careful, I can be a real drill sergeant with myself, which has served me very well in my life, but it can become a hindrance. So I am continually engaged in the process of softening and being kinder to myself, and also understanding myself at deeper levels, like at the level of the personality. You know, like there is along the path, I think it's Ken Wilber kind of philosophy. There's waking up, you know, into the non-dual experience of ultimate reality. But then there's also cleaning up, you know. While it is true that there is really nothing solid here, that Michael Holtness is a phenomena that just arises and passes like smoke in the wind. The practice of cleaning up is understanding your personality at a really intimate level, knowing how it is that you came to be the way you are through your life story, and to clean up the residual emotional stuff that we all inherit as, you know, through this human journey. So right now I'm focusing a lot on the cleaning up side of things. The waking up has a strong momentum, but the cleaning up is just as important. I have a teacher, Dustin DePerna, and he was the second in command of the late great Dan Brown. And on one of the retreats, they shared a quote. I don't remember who said it, and I don't even remember exactly what the quote was. but it was something like the path is about attaining insight as vast as the sky and conduct as fine as sand. And the conduct as fine as sand part that's about cleaning up. So to become whole on this path, you have to know who you are, who you really are, ultimate reality, and also be a person who is good. And as you know, the spiritual world is full of individuals who are highly realized, whose conduct is highly questionable. And the ordinary world is full of individuals whose conduct is very good, but whose insight is non-existent. Both are possible, I believe. So, long answer to your question, I'm cleaning up.
It's a great answer, man. It's a great answer, and a great quest, I think I know we got to get you out of here shortly, but thought we could close with just sort of talking about Tribe Men's Community. You're one of the founding members of that. I have the distinct pleasure of being involved with you guys in that. I know we've been throwing around this quote that's been both attributed ironically to Confucius and as a Celtic proverb, never give a sword to a man who can't dance.
Yeah, man.
And I know there's some whisperings about you and I maybe doing something together, which I'm very excited about. But are there anything coming up for you? Anything that guys need to know about? Any programs you've got going on in addition to the masculine vitality, or things that you would steer guys towards?
Well, we're going to be in talks, I think tomorrow actually, around trying to set a date for an intensive of sorts in the springtime of this year. So that's yet to be determined, but we're wanting to make that happen. The best way to get into my universe and stay in the loop with what's going on with me is to go to my website, savageandsaint.com, and subscribe to my newsletter. I put a newsletter out once per week. It's usually just a reflection, but then I'll also, if there's a course to be promoted or a retreat to be promoted, something like that, then you'll for sure hear about it if you subscribe.
I highly recommend that. I love your writing, man. It's good to get your little notices every week and sort of be with where your brain's at and what you're digesting. It always brings value to me, and I'm confident that it will to the men who are listening as well. So, Michael, what an honor. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with me and chat on all the stuff that we love talking about. So I feel like I could talk to you for a few more hours. We go full Rogan style, 3 hours, but we'll keep it at 1 for now, and have a blessed rest of your day, brother.
My pleasure, Bates. Thanks for having me on, man. Great to rap with you.
Right back at you. All right, everybody.